and welcome to the Hindu Editorial Analysis. I am Saurabh and my dear friends, we are back to the studio. And not only that, you will also get separate sessions of English and Hindi from today onwards. If you want the link to the Hindi session of the Hindu Editorial Analysis, you will get that in the description and as well as the comment section below this particular video. So my dear friends, once again, like we used to do it, first of all, we're going to take a look at all the articles that we have today. So once, a review of all the articles. Then, we'll take a look at the motivational quote that we have over here. Then we shall analyze the most important articles today for banking SSC examinations, and we'll also practice questions and also learn vocabulary words. So, and also, my dear friends, we are going to have a couple of grammar-based questions. So, in all, if you are weak in English, if you want to improve your English, if you want to improve your passage-based sections, then this is the show that you must follow for sure. So, my dear friends, let's take a look at the e-paper that we have here for you. So here's the e-paper for you. Now see, at left you can find a welcome quiz. Now this particular article, my dear friends, is actually focused on the Hadia. There was a girl called Hadia, and there were allegations that that she actually had become a victim of love jihad, and because of it, this High Court of her state actually had annulled her, annulled her marriage. So it had ended her marriage, but then again, Supreme Court, it upheld her marriage, and now finally she has got back united with her husband. So this is the case, by the way. And all those of you who are preparing for CLAT, my dear friends, this is actually a very important article for all the CLAT aspirants. So you should definitely take a look at this. Now, over here, under a humane constitution. Now see, my dear friends, I think you know about this, that this particular article is actually based on passive euthanasia. So my dear friends, recently the Supreme Court had actually allowed passive euthanasia. That is, for the patients who have been in a long state of vegetative manner, the life support can be withdrawn from them as per their will. All right, so this is regarding that only, and all of this article is specially based and designed around that. So all the MBBS aspirants, if you're watching this is really good for you, and not only for MBBS aspirants, this is also very good for civil aspirants as well as CLAT aspirants. So you should definitely take a look at this. Now, coming downwards, see, a breakthrough and a gamble. So this is an article which is extremely important from international relation point of view. If you're preparing for IR, or if you're preparing for CSAT examinations, or if you think you'll be preparing for CSAT examinations, this is a good topic, because in this particular article, see, they're going to talk about America and North Korea meeting, which is going to be held in May. So this is all about that. Now at left over here, it's written over here, saving govt. Now see, this is actually a very important article, and this is an article which requires our attention, because see, these are the kind of articles which actually you can get in your bank and SSC examinations, especially considering the fact that SBI Clerk, it'll be around the corner soon. So that's why we are going to analyze this particular article today, and not only for bank and SSC, this is also a very good article for CSAT examinations as well. Now, so here's the next page for you, my dear friends. Now, bifurcation and blame. I think this particular article, what is this particular article? I think you should be getting that article, looking at them. The image over here that says, save democracy, save Andhra Pradesh, save democracy. So perhaps, they are demanding special status, special state status for Andhra Pradesh, and there is various things over here. So what exactly is this furore about? That's given in this particular article, which is extremely important for not only state PCS examinations, various state PCS examinations, but also from a CSAT examination point of view. And we'll also take a look at this analysis, because this might actually help you in the various GDs that are going on in various examinations. Now, at right over here, overlooked to a relook. So perhaps, this particular article is once again from a journalistic point of view, and all the people who are, definitely pursuing mass comm, this is a good article for you, my dear friends. Now, coming downstairs, so here's the left one, a curse to science. So perhaps, this is actually regarding various journals that get printed on science. So this is regarding that, and I'm sure that you will definitely love about this. Okay. So my dear friends, that's the review of today's articles. Now, as I told you, that first of all, we're going to take a look at a very important article that we had been ignoring for a long time, in fact. And I think now it actually is the correct time to check out this particular article. So let's take a look at the first article that we have here for you. Now, saving govt. So first of all, you need to understand where is this particular place. See, this particular place is in Syria, okay? And I think all of you know that, you know, a lot of Syrian children, a lot of Syrian women, a lot of Syrian men who are innocent civilians of Syria, you know, they are getting killed in the crossfire between militants and the government forces. So this is a very important article, and in fact, it's a very important article not only from exam point of view, but also from humanity point of view, and that is why we are going to analyze this particular article for sure. But before we start with this article, I think we should once take a look at the motivational quote as well, and then, you know, with some motivation, we'll start this article. So guys, here's the motivational quote for you. Generosity is giving more than you can, and pride is taking less than you need. So perhaps, you know, if you really want to be generous, you know, see, this is how you get generous, you know, when you actually give more than, you try and give more than that you actually possibly can, and that's just perhaps a sign of generosity, knowing that you'll have to sacrifice something. And you know what, on the other hand, if you want to have pride about something, then see, pride is taking less than you need. So this is the difference between generosity and pride, and I'm sure that, you know, you would have got the funda, you would have got the message over here, because I think you are smart enough to understand what I am trying to convey over here. Now guys, let's go back to this particular article that we have over here. So, saving Ghouta. Given the deal to evacuate one militant group, Syria should reach out to the rest. So after finally, now it's some good news coming in from there, because, you know, finally the government and the majority and the main dominant militant group, you know, they have agreed on a ceasefire, and they have actually agreed to, you know, leave Syria and go out. So this is something that's a really good sign. And now let's understand more over here. So the agreement reached between armed groups in eastern Ghouta and a UN delegation to evacuate some militants from the besieged enclave is the first major concession the rebels have made since the Syrian government attacks began a month ago. So perhaps, you know, an agreement has occurred between a militant group, by the way, the dominant military group of Syria, and a UN delegation to evacuate the region, you know. Now, in fact, from the besieged. Now besieged means something which is under siege, something which is not liberated, something which is not free. Okay, so perhaps, you know, this particular delegation from the UN, they were able to get the armed group of Syria, to come to terms with them, and perhaps they promised to let them evacuate this particular region, and they were also ready to evacuate the region. Now this is the first positive signs ever since the Syrian government attacks began a month ago. Now, under the deal, the Jaish al-Islam, the main rebel group, will evacuate militants linked to the Hayat Tahrir al-Sham, that's HTS, formerly known as Al-Qaeda Front, from Ghouta on the outskirts of Damascus. Now, under this particular deal, what exactly is this deal that has been signed? Now, under this particular deal, Jaish al-Islam, which is the main rebel group, you know, it will evacuate militants who are linked or who are connected to the Hayat Tahrir al-Sham, that's HTS, who are actually, you know, who are formerly an Al-Qaeda front from the Ghouta region, which is on the outskirts of Damascus. Now, so I hope, my dear friends, you have got the basic idea right now what this particular article is going to be about. So it's really good time to take a look at the first, you know, vocab question that we have here for you. So let's see, were you able to learn a very important word that I just told you or not? Let's see the first vocab question. Okay, so here's the first vocab question for you. Now, what's the synonym for the word besiege? From the options of save, assail, let go, and help. Now see, help means to help, let go means to leave somebody, assail means to kill somebody, and save means to save somebody. Now see, over here, you know, there are various meaning of this particular word, you know, besiege. Now see, of the various meanings, one of these meanings is also to kill somebody or to combat. Okay, my dear friends, so that is why now having a look at that meaning, which I didn't tell you right now because I told you a different meaning, over here the correct synonym of the word, I am sure you would have answered this, it's option number 2, assail, my dear friends. Now let's go back to this particular article, and then we'll come back to the question as well. So, well, here's the article for you, my dear friends. Now see, HTS militants will go to Idlib, a province in the northwestern Syria run by the rebels, mainly the HTS. Over the past month, the rebels had refused to strike any deal with the regime even after the repeated bombardment. Now, this particular HTS militant, these militants, who were actually at the outskirts of, at the outskirts of Damascus, they are going to go to the northwestern Syria, Syrian province, which is called Idlib, which is actually run by the rebels, by HTS rebels only. And over the past month, though there had been extreme bombing by the governments, but still that these particular militants of HTS, these rebels of HTS, they had refused regarding any particular, ceasefire agreement. Now, at least 1,000 people have been killed in the 1 month with the UN warning of an apocalypse in Syria. The regime's argument was that it was seeking to liberate eastern Ghouta from terrorist occupation. Now, over here, at least 1,000 people, that's a lot of people, my dear friends, that's a lot of people, have been killed in one single month. Now, when you wipe out that much amount of people in one single month, then it actually is the sign of an apocalypse, which is called Mahapada in Hindi. So perhaps, because the UN, by the way, had warned of an apocalypse in Syria, looking at the killing, at the dying rate of people over there. And, thus the Syrian regime's argument that why are they bombarding their own civilians, their own people, was that they were trying to seek to liberate, liberate and free eastern Ghouta from terrorist occupation. Now, let's understand more over here. But about 400,000 people are struck in the enclave. Some reports say the rebels are using them as human shields, but the regime and its Russian backers are paying little attention to the human suffering. Now, approximately, according to some reports, 400,000 people, that's 4 lakh people, are stuck in this particular enclave with these rebels. Now, and some reports are also saying that these rebels are using innocent humans, innocent civilians as human shields. But this is something that is not going to the brain of the Syrian regime and also its Russian backer or Russian helpers, who are paying very little attention to the suffering of the common humans, to the suffering of the common people of Syria. Now, so last month, the UN Security Council unanimously passed a resolution calling for a ceasefire in eastern Ghouta. Thereafter, the Syrian government eased the siege of the city, allowing aid groups to supply assistance. Now, in the previous month, the UN Security Council, by the way, unanimously altogether, it passed a resolution which called for a ceasefire and peace in eastern Ghouta. And after that, the Syrian government, by the way, they actually eased the siege of the city, and they slowed down their bombardment, and they allowed the aid groups or the help groups to supply some assistance as well. Now, but the ceasefire is yet to take effect. The Russians who voted for the resolution at the Security Council continue to justify attacks by citing the presence of the HTS, which is linked to an internationally designated terrorist organization. Now, although the ceasefire has been called at the UN Security Council, but on ground there's still no ceasefire as well. And in fact, the Russians who had actually voted for this particular resolution of ceasefire, even they continue to justify the attacks, in this particular region, and by citing the presence of HTS, which is actually linked to the internationally designated terrorist organization, which was actually linked with formerly the Al-Qaeda, by the way. Now, so I hope, my dear friends, you would have got the thoughts given in this first para of this particular article. Now it's time to take a look at the question number 2 that we have here for you. So let's take a look at question number 2 as well. Now, which of the following is not true according to para 1? So, statement A is under the deal, the Jaish al-Islam, the main rebel group, will evacuate militants linked to the Hayat Tahrir al-Sham. Now, statement B is the regime's argument was that it was seeking to bring eastern Ghouta under terrorist occupation. Then statement C is the Russians who voted for this resolution at the Security Council continued to justify attacks by citing the presence of the HTS. Now, if you feel that option number 1 is the answer, then you can type 2-1 in the comment section. If you feel now option number 2 is the answer, then you can type 2-2 in the comment section below the video. If you feel number 3 is the correct answer, then you can type 2-3 in the comment section below the video. If you feel number 4 is the answer, then you can type 2-4 in the comment section below the video. And if you feel option number 5 is the answer, then you can type 2-5 in the comment section below the video. Well, I am sure if you had gone through all of these 3 statements, then there shall be no other answer from your end except statement A and C being not true. If I'm wrong or if I'm right, what do you say, my dear friends? Is option number 4 is your answer? What do you say? Well, let's just take out all of these statements once again. Now, statement A says under the deal, the Jaish al-Islam, the main rebel group, will evacuate militants linked to the Hayat Tahrir al-Sham. Well, this actually seems true, so this cannot be termed as not true. Now then on statement B says the regime's argument was that it was seeking to bring Eastern Ghouta under terrorist occupation, which was actually to liberate from terrorist occupation. So statement B actually is not true. Then statement C says the Russians who voted for the resolution at the Security Council continued to justify attacks by citing the presence of the HTS. Means statement C is also true. That means only A and C would have been the answer had this question being about which of the following is true. But since the question is which of the following is not true, it's option number 2, only B. And I hope, my dear, you have also mentioned the same in your answer. Now let's come back to this article and let's understand more over here. So here this article is, my dear friends, now which the HTS fighters now being evacuated, it is an opportunity for Russia and Syrian regime to cease hostilities and engage with other armed groups, including the Jaish and Falaq al-Rahman, an affiliate of the Free Syrian Army. Now, both the rebels and the governments can learn from the Battle of Eastern Aleppo, which regime forces captured in the late 2016. Now, since the HTS fighters have, they are now being evacuated and they have learned, ultimately, there's some peace at one particular region of this particular place in Syria. So this is an opportunity for Russia and Syrian, regime to host, ultimately to finally stop the hostilities and engage with other armed groups as well, including the Jaish and Falaq al-Rahman, which is an affiliate or actually a link group of the Free Syrian Army. Now, both the rebels and the government forces, they can learn from the Battle of Eastern Aleppo, which actually regime forces captured in the late 2016. Now, after the rebels ran out of all options in the face of continued Syrian and Russian assaults, both from land and air, they finally decided to leave the city under Turkish mediation, handing it over to the government forces. Now, the Battle of Eastern Ghouta bears an eerie similarity to that of Eastern Aleppo. Now, after finally the rebels, they ran out all of options, in the face of continued Syrian plus Russian assaults, both from land and air. They actually decided to leave the city under Turkish mediation and handing it over to the government forces. That happened in Aleppo. And by the way, the Battle of Eastern Ghouta bears an eerie similarity to that of Eastern Aleppo. Now, eerie means, something which is very spooky or which is not ordinary. So this is the exact meaning which we're going to discuss most probably. So now I hope, guys, that you got the funda till now. Let's understand more over here. In Ghouta, the rebels do not have any meaningful support coming from outside the curve that could allow them to resist regime forces. What they do now to deter regime advances is to shell the government-controlled parts of Damascus and its suburbs, killing more civilians and giving further reason for the regime to justify its militant operations. Now, so perhaps in Ghouta what happens, the rebels, they do not have any meaningful support coming from outside and which can actually help them in continuing the resistance to the regime forces, to the Syrian regime forces. But what they do now is for deterring regime advances, they actually shell. They start, they start having heavy shelling, which, for combating the government, for combating the government regime. And in fact, in order to combat the government regime, they actually shell the government-controlled parts of Damascus and its suburbs in order to get at the government. But actually, they end up killing more civilians and give further reasons to this regime for justifying its military operations. So means, at one hand, there's the Syrian plus Russian regime, which targets civilians and says that, they're all terrorists, and that's why we are trying to free this area, this Syria, from the terrorists. On the other hand, there are terrorists and rebels who target civilians and saying that we are targeting the government. So whether somebody is from the side of Syrian regime plus Russian regime side, or whether they are side of the link at this rebel side, the only people who are getting killed are the innocent civilians who simply want to get on with their usual lives. So this is what's going on in Syria, my dear friends. Now, before we go forward, let's take a look at the important question, the vocab-based question that we have here for you. So let's have that vocab-based question, please. Now, so what exactly is the synonym for the word eerie from the options of common, regular, usual and uncanny? Well, my dear friends, common means something which is very regular, which is very ordinary. Then option number 2 says regular, which is once again something which is common or ordinary. Usual, once again, as usual, something which is very ordinary, natural. Then uncanny, which is very unnatural or not so usual, or unusual. Well, the correct synonym for the word eerie has to be option number 4, uncanny. And I hope, my dear, that you have also, used the same in your answer. Now, let's go back to this article and let's finish this off now. So, this will only prolong the conflict, endangering civilians on both sides. Given the Aleppo example and the reality on the ground in eastern Ghouta, the sooner the government forces and the armed gangs reach an agreement for evacuation, the better it will be for the hundreds of thousands of people in the enclave. So perhaps, see, this mindless shelling from the rebels and this mindless bombardment from the Syrian regime, it's only going to elongate this particular conflict, and it's going to endanger the people, the civilians, innocent civilians through both the sides, and especially looking at the Aleppo example, and given the reality on the ground in eastern Ghouta, the sooner the government forces and the armed gangs actually reach for an agreement of peace, the better it will be for the thousands of people who are stuck in there. Now, my dear friends, it's time to take a look at the question number 4 that we have here for you. So let's have a look at that, please. Now, which of the following is true according to Para? So that is what you have to answer, my dear friends. Now, statement A is, with HTS fighters now being evacuated, it is an opportunity for Russia and the Syrian regime to start hostilities and engage with the other armed groups. Now, statement B says, the battle for eastern Ghouta bears an eerie similarity to that of eastern Aleppo. Statement C says, the later the government forces and the armed gangs reach an agreement for evacuation, the better it will be for hundreds of thousands of people in the enclave. Now see, well, if you feel option number 1 is the answer, then you can type 4-1 in the comment section below the video. If you feel number 2 is the answer, then you can type 4-2 in the comment section below the video. If you feel number 3 is the answer, then you can type 4-3 in the comment section below the video. If you feel number 4 is the answer, then you can type 4-4 in the comment section below the video. And if you feel number 5 is the answer, then you can type 4-5 in the comment section below the video. Okay, my dear friends. Now see, statement A says, with the HTS fighters now being evacuated, it is an opportunity for Russia and the Syrian regime to start hostilities and engage with other armed groups. Is that true according to Para? No, it's not, my dear friends. Now, then statement BC, it says, the battle for eastern Ghouta bears an eerie similarity to that of eastern Aleppo. Is this true according to the paragraph? Yes, it is. Then statement C says, the later the government forces and the armed gangs reach an agreement for evacuation, the better it will be for hundreds of thousands of people in the enclave. That means, my dear friends, this is also not true, because see, the later it's given in statement C, whereas it was the sooner in the paragraph. Means if you are looking for a statement that is true, it has to be option B, or statement B and option number only 2 that says only B. The battle of eastern Ghouta bears an eerie similarity to that of eastern Aleppo. So I hope, my dear friends, that you were able to understand the various nuances of this particular article. You were able to understand the various the actual central theme of this particular article, which is actually based on the theme of humanity, more over that. And you're also able to give the correct answers of the questions, of the vocab based questions, as well as the comprehension based questions. So now it's time to take a look at another article. Let's have a look at the e-paper, please. So, bifurcation and blame. Now, bifurcation means division, by the way. So, to divide something, that's called bifurcation, and the blame. So, it's misleading. And now it's misleading to blame the 14th Finance Commission for not according special category status to the states. Okay. So it's wrong, perhaps, to blame the 14th Financial Commission for for not providing the special status of the state to Andhra Pradesh. Now let's see. Let's understand more over here. Now see, the bifurcation of the Andhra Pradesh by the United Progressive Alliance (UPA) government has left a troubled legacy. The then Prime Minister Manmohan Singh's statement of 6 paragraphs in Parliament on February 2014 contained the promise of according special category status to the successor of the state of Andhra Pradesh. Now, the bifurcation or the division of the Andhra Pradesh by the United Progressive Alliance of the UPA government has actually left a very much troubled legacy, which means a very troublesome situation. Thus, the then Prime Minister Manmohan Singh's statement of 6 paragraphs in Parliament on Feb 20, 2014 contained a promise, which accorded special category status to the successor of state of Andhra Pradesh. Now, so then what happened? This has stirred up a hornet's nest with both the ruling party and the opposition in the Andhra Pradesh Assembly, upping their ante and demanding that the union government honor the commitment. Now, perhaps, this particular thing has actually, this particular promise from the previous government has actually stirred up a hornet's nest. That means an extreme, trouble with both the ruling party and the opposition in the Andhra Pradesh Assembly, upping their ante, so perhaps increasing their protest and demanding the union government to honor this particular commitment. Now, my dear friends, we are going to take a look at the next questions, which is actually a vocab-based question, because we want to improve your vocabulary right away. So let's have a look at the vocab-based question, please. So, what exactly is the antonym for the word bifurcation? I did tell you the meaning of bifurcation, my dear friend. So, tell me, what's the antonym for the word bifurcation? You've got options of complication. Option number 1. Option number 2 says consequence. Option number 3 says division. Option number 4 says unite. Now, complication means to make something more problematic, to complicate things, to make something more troublesome. Then consequence means a result of something. Then division definitely means to divide something, and unite means to get together, put something together. That's unite, So perhaps the antonym for the word bifurcation, which means to divide, is going to be option number 4, unite. And I am sure, my dear friend, that you would have answered the same in your answer below the video in the comment section. Now, let's go back to this particular article once again. So, Union Finance Minister Arun Jaitley has pleaded inability and has instead agreed to giving a generous package. He has placed the blame at the door of the 14th Finance Commission. Now, by the way, the present Union Finance Minister Arun Jaitley, he has pleaded, or rather he has he's pleading for his inability, and in fact for giving the special status to Andhra Pradesh, and also, he has agreed to give a generous package to the state of Andhra Pradesh in order to calm down the situation, and he has also placed the blame, by the way, at the door of the 14th Finance Commission right away. Now, this is not the first time that the commission has been blamed for special category status not being given. There were news reports at the Venkaiah Naidu, a report about Venkaiah Naidu and the present Vice President when he was a Union Minister for Urban Development, also blaming the FFC for the Union government's inability to accord a special category status. Now, so perhaps the present blame coming from the Finance Minister Arun Jaitley at this 14th Finance Commission for not providing the special status category to Andhra Pradesh is not the first time that the 14th Finance Commission has been targeted. Now, before this, the present Vice President of our nation, Venkaiah Naidu, when he was a Union Minister for Urban Development, he had also blamed the FFC for the Union government's inability and failure for according in order to accord the special category status to Andhra Pradesh. Now, in fact, the circular on the special package issued in September 2016 stated, following the recommendation of the 14th Finance Commission, the class of special category states ceases to exist. Now, perhaps, the circular of the special packages issued in the various in September 2016 very clearly stated from the government that following the recommendations of the 14th Finance Commission, the classification or the class of special category of states ceases to exist, means they are not going to exist anymore. So that's the circular of the government, and this is what it read. So, my dear friends, I think you've got enough knowledge about what exactly is going on in this whole scenario. Now, let's take a look at the very beautiful parajumble that we have here for you. So, here it is, the parajumble. Okay, so my dear friends, now here's the parajumble for you. It's a very simple statement. It's a very simple 7-sentence parajumble, and I am sure that if you read this properly, if you just try to read this properly, try to find the first statement, then try to arrange the logical pairs, and then try to align the parajumble, you will be able to do the same. So pause this video and try to solve this as soon as possible. I hope, my dear friends, you actually pause the video. Now let's see the correct answer for this parajumble. So here is the answer for this particular parajumble. It's EBA CGDF. Now it starts from E, that says the bifurcation of Andhra Pradesh by the United Progressive Alliance government. Statement B connects that has left a troubled legacy. The then Prime Minister of Manmohan Singh's statement, followed by statement A, which says of 6 paragraphs in Parliament on Feb 20, 2014, contain the promise, followed by statement C, which says of according special category status to the successor state of Andhra Pradesh, followed by statement D, that says this has stirred up a hornet's nest with both the ruling party and the opposition, followed by statement D, that says in the Andhra Pradesh Assembly upping their ante, and followed by statement F, that says demanding that the union government honor the commitment. So I hope, my dear friends, that you got this particular arrangement correct. Now let's move on and let's see the next one, the next slide that we have here for you. So my dear friends, now we have got here 2 spotting error questions for you. So I hope that you will be able to answer these questions as well. So question number 7 reads, the then Prime Minister's statement of 6 paragraphs in Parliament contain the promise of according special category status for the successor of state of Andhra Pradesh. Okay, so start finding the error. You can mention your answer. If you feel that the answer is in the first part of this question, you can type 7-1. In the comment section, you can type 7-2 if you feel the answer is in the second part. If you feel the error is in the third part, you can type 7-3. If you feel the error is in the fourth part, then you can type 7-4. If you feel no error, you can type 7-5 in the comment section below the video. Now, looking at question number 8, it says, there was newspaper reports the Union Minister for Urban Development also blaming the FFC for the Union government's inability to accord special category status. Full stop, no error. Now, my dear friends, if you feel that the first part of question number 8 contains an error, you can type 8-1 in the comment section below the video. If you feel the answer is in number 2, you can type 8-2 in the comment section below the video. If you feel the error is in the third part, you can type 8-3 in the comment section. If you feel the error in the fourth part, you can type 8-4 in the comment section. And if you feel there is no error, you can type 8-5 in the comment section below the video. By the way, the error for question number 7, my dear friends, it's there in part number 3, because it says where according special status category status to the successor state should be there. Whenever you accord something, then after that accord you use the term to over there. So that's why it should be, because it's about granting, so granting something to someone in the same way, according something to someone. So that's why it should be to in the third part of question number 7. And the error in question number 8 lies in the first part, where it reads there was newspaper reports. Now see, reports is plural, that's why it should be there were newspaper reports. So now we can remove the PPT. So that was all, my dear friends. That was all in today's English version of the Hindu Editorial Analysis. I hope you had fun. So like the video. If you really enjoyed today's video, do comment your feedback and do tell us what is the best part of this particular editorial analysis. And also share with your friends, because sharing is caring, my dear friends. And this is Saurabh signing off. See you tomorrow once again in the Editorial Analysis. Peace out.